Navy SEALs are known for their courage, but these missions push them to the limit. They operate in the shadows, on the edge of what is humanly possible, where the margin for error is zero. These aren't just stories, they are brutal realities etched in blood, sweat, and sacrifice. The men who carried out these missions faced down overwhelming odds, stared into the abyss, and didn't flinch. They accepted the risk, embraced the suck, and got the job done when failure was not an option. It's in these moments, in the crucible of combat, that true character is forged and legends are born. We're going to peel back the curtain and look at the missions that tested every ounce of their training, their resolve, and their will to win. From the mountains of Afghanistan to the dense jungles of Panama, these are the moments that define the SEAL teams. These are the stories of men who went into the darkest places on Earth to confront evil, knowing they might not come back. Here are the 5 most dangerous operations ever carried out by Navy SEALs. Prepare to understand what it truly means to be on the front line. Before we dive into the fire, a quick reminder. If you value these stories of courage and discipline, take a moment to support the channel. It allows us to continue bringing these critical narratives to light. Please like and subscribe. Now let's get to it. Abbottabad, Pakistan, a high-walled compound in a quiet city. Inside, the world's most wanted man, Osama bin Laden. The mission to get him was called Operation Neptune Spear, and it was a gamble of epic proportions. The intelligence was good, but not perfect. There was no absolute certainty he was there. The SEALs from DevGru, what you might know as SEAL Team 6, were tasked with flying deep into sovereign Pakistani territory, undetected, in 2 specially modified Black Hawk helicopters. The risk of being discovered by Pakistani air defenses was immense. A single alert could have led to an international incident or a firefight with a foreign military. Every man on that mission knew the stakes. The plan was for a fast surgical insertion, but plans rarely survive first contact with reality. As the lead helicopter approached the compound, it experienced a vortex ring state, a dangerous aerodynamic stall. The pilot fought for control, but the bird came down hard inside the compound walls, a crash landing that could have ended the mission right there. But it didn't. The SEALs, disciplined and calm under extreme pressure, immediately exited the downed aircraft, established security, and began their assault on the main building. They moved with a terrifying and practiced efficiency, clearing room after room, floor by floor, against an unknown number of defenders. They fought their way up through the 3-story building, a methodical, violent, and deliberate process. Every corner turned, every door breached was a potential ambush. They had to distinguish between combatants and the women and children inside, making split-second life-or-death decisions in the dark. The world held its breath. The mission culminated in the top-floor room where bin Laden was found and eliminated. With 1 helicopter down and the clock ticking, they gathered intelligence, secured the high-value target's body, and executed a controlled demolition of the crashed Black Hawk before exfiltrating on the remaining bird and a backup Chinook. It was a masterclass in precision, adaptability, and unwavering resolve under fire. The Hindu Kush Mountains in Afghanistan, a brutal, unforgiving landscape that chews up and spits out even the toughest warriors. This was the setting for Operation Red Wings in June 2005. A 4-man SEAL reconnaissance team, Lieutenant Michael Murphy, Petty Officer 2nd Class Danny Dietz, Petty Officer 2nd Class Matthew Axelson, and Petty Officer 2nd Class Marcus Luttrell, was inserted to locate and identify a high-value Taliban leader, Ahmad Shah. Their mission was surveillance, to be the eyes on the target. But the mountains have their own plans. Soon after setting up their observation post, they were compromised by local goat herders. The SEALs faced a terrible choice. Let the herders go and risk them alerting the Taliban, or eliminate them and violate the rules of engagement. They chose the former. It was a decision rooted in their humanity, but it would have catastrophic consequences. Within an hour, they were ambushed by a force of 30 to 40 Taliban fighters. Pinned down on the slopes of Sautalo Sar, the 4 men fought with incredible ferocity, outnumbered 10 to 1. They were fighting for their lives, for each other, in some of the most difficult terrains on Earth. The communication gear wouldn't work in the deep ravines, cutting them off from any support. As the firefight raged, they were all wounded. In a final act of supreme sacrifice, Lieutenant Murphy knowingly exposed himself to enemy fire to get to open ground and make a satellite phone call for help. He was hit multiple times but completed the call, relaying their position before he was killed. A quick reaction force was dispatched, but the CH-47 Chinook carrying 8 SEALs and 8 Army Night Stalkers was shot down by an RPG, killing all 16 men aboard. On the ground, Dietz and Axelson also fell. Only Luttrell, blown off a cliff by an RPG blast, survived. Badly wounded, he crawled for miles and was eventually given sanctuary by local Pashtun villagers who protected him until he was rescued. The single largest loss of life for naval special warfare since World War II, a testament to the brutal cost of war. December 1989, Panama City. The objective: remove the dictator Manuel Noriega from power. Operation Just Cause was a massive, complex invasion, and the SEALs were at the tip of the spear. Their missions were some of the most critical and hazardous of the entire operation. One team was tasked with a direct action mission to disable Noriega's private jet at Paitilla Airfield, preventing his escape. Under the cover of darkness, 4 SEALs swam through the polluted, crocodile-infested waters of the harbor, their objective a Learjet parked on the tarmac. This wasn't a simple demolition job, it was a surgical strike in the heart of enemy territory. As they moved onto the airfield, they were spotted. The night erupted in a storm of gunfire. Pinned down on the open runway, they were completely exposed. In the ensuing firefight, Lieutenant Commander Mike Walsh and 3 other SEALs were wounded, and 2, Lieutenant John Connors and Chief Engineman Don McFall, were killed. Despite their losses and being heavily outgunned, the surviving SEALs pressed the attack. They fought their way to the aircraft and successfully placed their demolition charges, destroying the jet and accomplishing their mission. But the cost was high. It was a brutal reminder that even the best-laid plans can go sideways in an instant. Simultaneously, another SEAL element was conducting a combat swimmer ship attack against Noriega's heavily armed gunboat, the President Porras. Their goal was to neutralize it before it could interfere with the main invasion force. Slipping through the water, they attached limpet mines to the hull, a classic Frogman mission fraught with danger. The successful detonation of those charges sank the vessel at its pier, a critical victory that secured the waterway for U.S. forces. Operation Just Cause was a showcase of the SEALs' diverse capabilities, from urban combat and direct action to underwater sabotage, all executed under extreme pressure and lethal fire. Grenada, 1983. A political coup had put a hardline Marxist government in power, and hundreds of American medical students were trapped on the island. The U.S. launched Operation Urgent Fury to rescue them and restore order. The mission was thrown together quickly, with flawed intelligence and inadequate planning, a recipe for disaster. The SEALs were called upon to perform several high-risk missions, including the reconnaissance of a potential amphibious landing beach at Pearl's Airport, and the daring rescue of Governor General Sir Paul Scoon, who was under house arrest. These missions would test their ability to adapt and overcome in the face of chaos. The initial insertion was a catastrophe. A team tasked with the beach reconnaissance was dropped into a raging tropical storm. The high seas swamped their boats and 4 SEALs were lost, drowned in the violent surf, a tragic loss before the operation had even truly begun. Another team, tasked with securing the radio station, ran into unexpectedly fierce resistance. They found themselves in a prolonged gun battle, forced to fight their way out. The intelligence had failed to predict the level of Cuban military presence and the resolve of the Grenadian defenders, and the SEALs paid the price for that failure, fighting for every inch of ground. The most dramatic mission was the rescue of Governor General Scoon. After inserting by helicopter near his mansion, the SEALs came under immediate and intense fire from Grenadian forces, armed with anti-aircraft guns and armored personnel carriers. They secured the Governor General, but they were trapped, surrounded, and vastly outnumbered. For nearly 24 hours, they held their position in the mansion, repelling repeated attacks and calling in air support from AC-130 gunships to keep the enemy at bay. They held on by a thread until a Marine company could link up and relieve them. Their tenacity and courage under overwhelming fire saved the Governor General and turned a potential disaster into a hard-won success. The Shah-e-Khat Valley, Afghanistan, March 2002. Operation Anaconda was designed to be a conventional fight, using Afghan military forces backed by U.S. air power to corner and eliminate a large concentration of Al-Qaeda and Taliban fighters. The plan underestimated the enemy's numbers, their preparedness, and the brutal high-altitude terrain. The valley, which was supposed to be a trap for the enemy, quickly became a meat grinder for U.S. forces. SEAL teams were inserted onto the highest peaks to establish observation posts, placing them in some of the most exposed and dangerous positions imaginable. One such team, call sign Mako 30, was inserted onto the peak of Takur Gar. The helicopter carrying them was hit by RPG and machine gun fire as it tried to land, forcing it to pull away. In the chaos, Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts fell from the hovering aircraft onto the enemy-infested mountaintop. Alone and surrounded, Roberts fought valiantly until he was killed. What followed was a desperate, brutal battle as U.S. forces repeatedly tried to land on the peak to rescue Roberts and recover his body, flying directly into a prepared enemy kill zone. A second helicopter carrying a Ranger Quick Reaction Force was shot down on the peak, leading to a ferocious, day-long battle. A SEAL team, including members from the downed Mako 30 flight, fought their way back up the mountain to support the besieged Rangers. They were fighting in thin air, over 10,000 feet, in deep snow, against a dug-in and determined enemy. The Battle of Roberts Ridge, as it came to be known, was a brutal, close-quarters slugfest that resulted in the deaths of 7 U.S. servicemen. It was a stark lesson in the ferocity of the enemy and the extreme sacrifices required to leave no man behind. These 5 operations are just a glimpse into the world of naval special warfare. For every mission that makes the headlines, there are 100 more that remain in the shadows, known only to the men who were there. Each one represents a point on a map where SEALs confronted extreme danger and pushed forward anyway. They are stories of meticulous planning and violent chaos, of tactical brilliance and the brutal reality of combat. They are a testament to a mindset forged in the toughest training on the planet, a mindset that says, "I will not quit, I will not fail." The names we've mentioned, Murphy, Dietz, Axelson, Roberts, and so many others, are not just names. They represent the ultimate sacrifice. They are fathers, sons, and brothers who stood on the line between chaos and order and held that line with their lives. Their legacy is not just in the battles won, but in the standard they set for courage, discipline, and unwavering commitment to their teammates and their country. It is a legacy that echoes in every Buds class and in every SEAL platoon deployed around the world today. We remember them not for the way they died, but for the way they lived, with honor, courage, and a commitment to a cause greater than themselves. These operations show the incredible bravery and sacrifice of Navy SEALs. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more. It helps us honor these stories and ensure they are never forgotten.